This man didn't expect to find something during his walk. As time passed by, he was surprised to find out that the animal he took in wasn't a puppy. When Audrey Musienko woke up during a cold winter morning, the first thing he thought about was warming himself up with some exercise. He wasn't in the mood for anything too strenuous, and he eventually settled on a nice long walk. Fortunately for him, he lived in one of the more remote areas of Siberia, and there was a forest located behind his house. The man slipped on his boots, grabbed his thickest coat, and headed outdoors. Andrei followed a clear footpath where many people before him had walked and where many more would follow him. He visited the woods often, and his journey was always the same. On this day, he wanted to try something different. So he took a left and went down a path he had never seen. The trees seemed wider in this new area, and they were very tall. Andrei could only see a little bit of sunshine peeking through the leaves. All of a sudden, Andrei heard an unusual sound. Even though it was faint, he could already tell that it was a cry for help. He followed the sound since it wasn't too far from where he was. It didn't take long for him to find the source. Curled up against a tree was a baby animal. It was a puppy. The puppy's eyes were closed. It looked no more than a few weeks old. Andrei couldn't imagine why anyone would abandon a helpless creature in the middle of a forest. The sight broke his heart. He stepped closer to the shivering animal with outstretched arms. He picked up the puppy and held it close, hoping that his gloved hands would be able to provide some warmth to the poor animal. He didn't have any time to think about anything other than keeping the pup safe. Andrei rushed home. As the man rescued an abandoned puppy, his gut feeling told him that this was going to be one of the most important things he had ever done. When he finally arrived back at his house, he took some blankets out and wrapped the ice-cold puppy up. He ran around to turn the heating on and collect some water. After a few minutes of being within Andrei's care, the puppy had stopped shivering. It already looked like it was in a better state. Andrei called the local vet and asked for a checkup. He wanted to make sure that the animal was healthy and happy. Andrei had known the puppy for no more than a few hours, but already he could tell that they were going to become very close. Once again, he didn't really think his plans through and simply trusted his instinct. He adopted the stray pup and named him Akela. Over the next few months, Akela grew larger. Andrei noted that this new pet had a big appetite. It had been that way since the first day they had met. However, Akela's hunger only grew with time. Andrei knew that young animals required a lot of nutrients. In particular, canines and other mammals needed to feed on a regular basis to sustain their energy and weight. And yet, Akela's eating habits continued to surprise Andrei. As Akela grew bigger, his facial features seemed to sharpen, but his body shape grew wider. One thing that began to gnaw at Andrei's mind was Akela's breed. It was a mystery that he couldn't crack. It was just a little bit of curiosity, since he had never seen a dog like Akela before. Andrei had a lot of friends who were dog owners, so he turned to them with this burning question. They had no clue. They were just as confused as Andrei was. He sent people pictures and videos of Akela at different stages, hoping that someone would have an answer. And yet, his efforts were in vain. Something as simple as figuring out a dog's specific breed ended up becoming an impossible challenge. As the final resort, Andrei reached out to an animal expert. The expert asked for a meeting in person so that she would be able to identify what breed Akela was. Soon after, Andrei and Akela were in the car, driving towards the expert's location. What do you think happened next? Comment down below with your thoughts. Andrei walked into the practice with Akela attached by a leash. After speaking to the receptionist, he was directed to the expert's room. As he walked in, the expert's jaw dropped. The woman couldn't believe her eyes. Andrei had spent all that time thinking that he was raising a puppy, only to find out later that it's not a dog. It turned out that Akela was a wolf. To make matters even more intriguing, Akela was not just any random wolf, but a Eurasian grey wolf. This species is well known to be the largest canine on Earth. Wolf cubs and puppies share many resemblances, so it was only natural for Andrei to make that mistake. However, as Akela grew older, it was almost undeniable that he was a grey wolf. The animal expert explained to Andrei that the size difference was one of the key things to look out for. After finding out the true species of his dear pet, Andrei had to look out for Akela's well-being. It turns out that many people find the idea of a tamed wolf intriguing. Word about Akela had reached the local zoo. These zookeepers started to bombard Andrei with phone calls and emails, trying to convince him to send Akela to the zoo. Andrei had heard stories about zoos which made him reluctant to step inside one, let alone give his friend up to one. The alternative option was also unappealing. Many people encouraged Andrei to release Akela back into the wild, some of them fearing for the safety of Andrei and his neighborhood. Andrei was unsure about this, since there was no guarantee that Akela would be safe in the woods. He remembered the first day he met the wolf cub. Akela was left all alone to fend for himself. Even though some people would argue that it was the most ethical thing to do, Andrei could give reasons as to why he didn't believe that was the case. Instead, the best choice seemed to be evident. Akela had already spent so much time with Andrei and adapted to a new lifestyle. It only made sense to let the wolf stay with him. Andrei had already taken ownership of the wolf, and it didn't feel right to give him up. At first, Andrei's family was hesitant about his choice to raise a wolf. There are a lot of potential dangers when it comes to interacting with wild animals. Wolves in particular can be unpredictable. They are often feared for their carnivorous hunger and brute strength. Nevertheless, in the time that Andrei had gotten to know Akela, the canine had never shown even a hint of aggressiveness towards any human. Andrei felt as if there was nothing to be scared of. Akela was just like a domesticated dog. It had been over a year and a half since Andrei adopted Akela, and they had grown to become inseparable. Andrei chose to follow his heart instead of listening to the judgments of others. Eventually, his friends and family fully supported his decision. Andrei was grateful that he had come across the young creature in the woods, and Akela was grateful that someone had found him. To this day, they live together in Andrei's Siberian home, as happy as they could possibly be. In fact, the relationship Andrei formed with Akela inspired the man to help other wild animals in need. Andrei created several wild animal bases across Russia where gray wolves can live safely. These bases have grown in popularity, and there are now a range of canines resting there, such as foxes and coyotes. Andrei's work has saved the lives of countless creatures. In order to get more people to sympathize for canines, Andrei turned to social media to share his experiences. He has a successful Instagram account called @BlackCanadianWolf with over 100,000 followers. On a regular basis, his online fans are treated with countless pictures and videos. The internet is the perfect place to spread awareness about the protection of canines. The story of Andrei and Akela has touched the hearts of people all over the world, and I hope that it has done the same for you. It would be great if you could leave a comment down below telling me about what you thought about the story. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one, and I hope to see you in another video. Take care.